My top-tier boyfriend personally came forward to accuse me of design plagiarism. I directly burned all my design manuscripts and announced my withdrawal from the domestic design industry. My boyfriend and his assistant, who had been accusing me, both changed their expressions immediately. How could you burn the manuscripts? As long as you apologize, I'm willing to give you a chance. But I just looked at the burned-out manuscripts and sneered mockingly. In my previous life, they first labeled me as a plagiarist, and then used my design manuscripts to make money crazily. Ivy was hailed as a genius designer of Chinese style, while I became a plagiarism dog, and everyone despised. Reborn. I won't foolishly try to prove my innocence anymore. At the designer competition in a week, I'll make Ivy admit who the real plagiarism dog is. Excuse me, Miss Scarlet, do you mean that the phoenix-piercing peony that caused a sensation abroad was independently designed by you? Ivy clearly recorded her creative process on her private account, but you're cursing her for plagiarism online. Do you have any evidence? Is this the first time you plagiarized your assistant's work? As far as I know, Ivy is your third assistant. Please answer. Did the previous two assistants leave for personal reasons, or because they were dissatisfied with their works being attributed to you? The reporter's questions were getting more and more pointed. In a daze, I realized that I had been reborn. Reborn to the day when I held a press conference to prove Ivy's plagiarism. In my previous life, I spent a year creating a set of Chinese-style gowns for Blake to wear on the Cannes red carpet. On the day of the red carpet, media were shocked. He immediately secured endorsement deals for ready-to-wear clothing from top foreign fashion brands. The news spread back to China, topping the hot search list, and fans were spamming the screen. However, Ivy was one step ahead of me. She reposted a thank you Weibo on her private account and claimed the credit for the gown. On her private account, she had gradually posted dozens of pictures of the creative process, spanning over a year. I angrily accused her of plagiarism and took the initiative to hold a press conference to clarify everything. I confidently took out my design manuscripts and showed them in front of the camera. But to my surprise, the Scarlet in the lower right corner had somehow become Ivy. I couldn't believe it. But I still found a loophole. I loudly pleaded. My name was scraped off with a knife. Look. There are still scratches here. But Ivy shook her head, as if she thought I was being unreasonable, and explained. Sister Scarlet. Doesn't the shape of that scratch look like an ivy flower? As she spoke, she took out her previous design manuscripts. That's my signature. You know that, don't you? I was speechless. With Blake's popularity, and being publicly accused of plagiarizing my assistant, I was cyber-bullied so severely that I didn't dare to go out. All my personal information was made public online. Some people made PS of my death photos. Some sent me dead rats. And there were those who splashed red paint and feces on my door. Blake's extreme anti-fans came to my door. Brother has always been clean in the entertainment industry. It's all because of you. This plagiarism dog. That brother's life has a stain. Go die. Remembering all the things in my previous life, I couldn't help but get distracted. Blake reminded me. Scarlet. You said you wanted to hold a press conference. And I've helped you arrange it. If you have any evidence, show it now. The press conference was broadcast live, and the barrage on the big screen beside us scrolled by quickly. Brother is so kind. Sister Ivy's account almost recorded the whole process. Brother is still willing to give Scarlet a chance. I used to think Scarlet was good at matching and designing. I wonder who she stole those popular private-style outfits and looks from before. Blake continued. If you can produce evidence to prove that Ivy plagiarized and took credit for your work, then everyone will surely give you justice. In front of the camera, Blake looked high and mighty. But only those who wronged you know how wronged you are. Blake knew all my evidence very well. The night before, under the pretext of taking precautions, he took my manuscripts and changed all the signatures on them to Ivy's. He didn't give them back to me until just before the press conference started. By doing all this, he could not only make me be despised by the public but also push his first love, Ivy, whom he had been in love with for years, to the forefront. It's a big taboo for a popular star to fall in love. But after this incident, The setting of the top-tier star and the innocent girl attracted a lot of CP fans. After their relationship was exposed, their number of fans increased instead of decreased. Their century-old wedding even topped the hot search list for a week. I stopped looking at the malicious barrage, picked up a lighter, and burned all my design manuscripts. Both Blake and Ivy were startled by my sudden action. Ignoring them, I said directly, "Since someone is willing to spend a year creating a private account and setting up a trap to slander me, then no matter how much evidence I present, it won't help." Everyone. I have burned all the design manuscripts of the Phoenix-Piercing Peony series and the unpublished work manuscripts. But I believe that ideas can't be burned out, and talent can't be killed. Today, I, Scarlet, hereby announce my withdrawal from the domestic design industry. I look forward to meeting you all on a bigger stage. I looked at the ashes on the ground and turned to leave. Blake got anxious and blocked my way. Running away isn't the way to solve problems. We've cooperated for so many years. As long as you apologize, I'm willing to give you a chance. Ivy also changed her expression. Sister Scarlet, I didn't want you to leave. If you stay, I'm still willing to be your little assistant. I curled my lips. I didn't respond. Just quietly watched the two of them perform. The air was silent for a moment. Suddenly, Ivy ran back, lit a lighter, and burned all her manuscripts as well. Sister Scarlet, look, my manuscripts are gone too. I'll testify for you that you didn't plagiarize me. Is that okay? Sister Scarlet, this is just a small matter. We don't blame you. What will those who like your designs do if you never design again? Ivy was crying pitifully, while I, the plagiarist in everyone's eyes, showed no remorse and stood upright. This absurd scene made all the cameras turn towards us. Finally, having fulfilled my absai, the boss of Blake's film and television company showed up and forcefully stopped this farce. Ivy, why are you pleading for someone who plagiarized your designs? Scarlet, your work plagiarism has had an extremely bad impact on the company. The company has decided to fire you. Small temples attract strong winds. Shallow waters breed many villains. It's just a film and television company. I didn't plan to stay there anyway, I said infuriately. Then remember to give me N1 compensation. Otherwise, I'll go to labor arbitration. Before anyone could react, I stormed out of the press conference venue. On the way, I curiously opened Weibo. It took 2 full minutes to log in. There were overwhelming private messages scolding me. My topics were all over the hot search list. Blake has been in the industry for 3 years. And I've been in a relationship with him for 7 years. I accompanied him from obscurity to great popularity without any recognition status in the relationship. Every one of his famous scenes that went viral was carefully designed by me. And the first time my name appeared in the public eye, it was actually labeled as plagiarism. On the internet, marketing accounts use tricky writing techniques to portray me as an unforgivable habitual plagiarist. Some people even claimed to be internal staff, saying that I had an extreme personality and was difficult to communicate with. They also said that the previous 2 assistants left because they couldn't stand me. I know it's true. One of the assistant sisters still can't work or live a normal life due to severe depression. No wonder. I was just curious why Blake's every look was a hit. I thought which designer was so low-key. With such skills, they could make a name in the fashion industry. Turns out it's a plagiarism dog who didn't dare to show up. Brother is so kind. He was so badly cheated but still speaking up for her. He's really unlucky to meet her. Fortunately, having fulfilled my absai, Sister Ivy is here now. Did you watch the live-streamed press conference? The plagiarism dog even had the nerve to ask for N1 compensation. If I were the boss, I'd claim compensation from her. So ridiculous. These words were much better than the unsightly remarks in my previous life. Taking advantage of this hype, the company established a personal studio for Blake and officially announced the appraisal of Blake's personal clothing brand YY Today. In my previous life, relying on my remaining design manuscripts, YY achieved the first-place sales record for clothing brands during the shopping festival. Ivy even won the first prize in the national designer competition. She was in the spotlight for a while. But now, I burned all my design manuscripts. disrupting their next plans. Even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. I deliberately joined in the fun and commented, looking forward to seeing more of Ivy's works. Come on in the upcoming designer competition. In this life, the play has started. I'm waiting to see how it ends. I took a taxi home, took out my suitcase, and started packing. Over the years, as Blake's popularity has grown, our lives have gotten better. The house has become bigger and bigger, but also colder and colder. Looking at the empty villa, I couldn't help but miss the days when we first met as teenagers. In the first year of high school, my parents suddenly died in a car accident. I, who had been happy for 16 years, became an orphan overnight. I became withdrawn, and my grades plummeted. Until I met Blake. He bounced a basketball onto my leg and then smiled and said, "Sorry, classmate. I hit you. Let me treat you to a meal." Later, his basketball always seemed to hit me, and I ended up eating at all the shops around the school with him. The aunt who sold spicy hot dog always liked to put a lot of vegetables. The uncle who sold fried skewers said his sauce was unbeatable. The braised pork in the small dining hall was always greasy. Blake would pick out the lean meat from his bowl and give it to me, and then quietly take the fatty meat from my bowl. After graduating from high school, we officially got together. And then, after graduating from university, Blake entered the entertainment industry. At first, when we couldn't get any work, life was really tough. At the end of the month, the two of us would huddle together, eating plain noodles and clear soup, and yet it still felt like a taste of happiness. Even now, I still don't know when exactly things started to change. The sound of the door opening interrupted my thoughts. I wiped away the tears that had somehow fallen. Blake and Ivy walked side by side in front of me. "Sister Scarlet, are you leaving?" I sneered. "Ivy, there's no one else around now. You don't need to put on an act here. Or are you worried that I'm recording?" As soon as I finished speaking, Ivy's expression changed instantly. She opened her mouth, but seemingly really worried that I was recording. She couldn't say a word. Blake furrowed his brows. "Scarlet, what are you doing? You're scaring Ivy." I haven't even said much yet. And she's already scared? What a delicate little flower swaying in the wind. I had no intention of wasting any more words with these two, but I still wanted to clarify one thing before going abroad. "Blake, when exactly did you get together with her?" Blake sneered. "Childhood sweethearts. Innocent and carefree. When do you think we got together?" "Then you." Blake laughed even louder and interrupted me. "You want to ask why I chased you in high school? Don't you think your side profile looks a lot like Ivy's? And you're an orphan without parents. You'd follow anyone who said a few nice words to you. Just like a dog." "How interesting. No parents. Like a dog." I was trembling all over. I mustered up all my strength and gave Blake a big slap. The force was so strong that my arm went numb. Only when I saw the clear handprint on Blake's face did I feel a sense of relief. "Scarlet, you're crazy. How could you hit Brother Blake?" Ivy was heartbroken and picked up her phone to call the police. I snatched her phone and threw it hard on the ground. The phone broke into pieces immediately. Before Ivy could react, I slapped her across the face. "You reminded me. I almost forgot about you." Blake was furious and reached out to hit me. I took a step back, raised my phone, and turned on the screen. The recording page clearly appeared in front of his eyes. "The recording is being synchronized and uploaded to the cloud. Blake, Ivy. From now on, whenever you to see me, Scarlet, you'd better tuck your tails between your legs and take a detour." Blake softened his tone. "Scarlet, if you need money, you can tell me. There's no need to sell this to the paparazzi." "Blake, wake up. It's me who finds it even more disgusting to be associated with you." The moment the plane passed through the clouds, all the pent-up frustration in my chest dissipated. In my previous life, after being wrongly accused of plagiarism, I was so focused on explaining and clearing my name that I unknowingly got trapped in a dead end. Living this life again, I've come to understand. When I stand on a bigger stage with my strength, whether I plagiarized or not will be self-evident. Although it's a pity to lose Fiend experiencing the peony. I believe that one day, I will take back this design with my own hands. After getting off the plane and leaving the airport, I saw that cool pink sports car at a glance. And beside the car was my stylish little aunt wearing big sunglasses. My little aunt is a costume designer exclusively for Hollywood. Last year, she won the Oscars for Best Costume Design and Art Direction for Love in Chicago. As soon as we met, my little aunt gave me a warm hug. However, the warmth didn't even last for a second. See, if you don't listen to your little aunt, you'll suffer. This incident in the country obviously didn't escape my notice. And I can't refute what my little aunt said. Over the years, my little aunt has been abroad. By the time she knew about my parents' accident, I was already a freshman in college. She found me and said she wanted to take me to study abroad. At that time, I was holding a 30 yuan silver ring in my hand. Smiling. Little aunt, you're too late. I never told Blake about this, because I thought it was unnecessary. Not to mention my little aunt. Even I now want to travel back in time and give myself a slap. On the way, heading fulfilled land session. My little aunt was still lecturing me. Remember, spending money on a man will bring you bad luck for a lifetime. And supporting a man will bring you bad luck for 3 lifetimes. I nodded like a bobblehead. Actually, without my little aunt saying much. I've already figured it out. But this matter is easy to solve. I've already contacted a lawyer for you. It's just a matter of my word to make that scumbag have a hard time. I rolled down the car window, stretched out my hand, and felt the free wind outside the window. Little aunt, there's no need to go to so much trouble. They can only hold on for about a week at most. Before boarding the plane, I saw the WIBO of Blake Studio. The first batch of blind box clothes of the personal clothing brand YY has been sold out. The launch of the second batch is to be determined. Good things are always happening. And the unknown is worth looking forward to. Ivy also reposted this WIBO and added a caption, "Stay tuned, fans aren't stupid. Trying to get something for nothing will eventually be exposed." After a few days, among the overwhelming anticipation in the comment section, voices of doubt began to appear. Just a passerby. I bought the blind box only because I like the design of Fiend experiencing the peony. Why aren't there any pictures released? Even a manuscript would be fine. When the popularity is so high, they don't release pictures of the finished products but know how to sell clothes. Stars really know how to make money. Oh my god. Could the plagiarism incident be a self-directed and self-acted farce by Blake and them? To generate traffic, sell clothes, and make money. The appraisal amount of their first batch is already in the tens of millions. However, Blake's fans are not to be trifled with. They're skilled at controlling comments and quickly drowned out these negative voices. But they can't cover it up forever. With tens of millions in sales, it's evident how huge the passerby customer base is. And passers-by won't show any leniency to stars. A few days passed, and Blake and Ivy did nothing but cover their mouths and delete comments. Mainly because Ivy can't design at all. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't. The more they suppressed the voices of doubt, the more intense they became. On the other hand, the first phase of the National Designers Competition will be launched tomorrow. Ivy was in a really tough spot. I followed these accounts. There were dozens of new post notifications every hour, especially for Ivy. As if she was glued to the internet. Finally, having fulfilled sorry. Ivy posted a WIBO. "I'm very sorry. Due to health reasons, I can only miss the recording at tomorrow's designers competition program. The incident of senior Scarlet has indeed had some impact on my mentality. However, I will adjust myself and start anew with a brand new look." Blake reposted this WIBO to show his support for Ivy. Come on. This time, before the comment-controlling army could arrive, the passers-by directly dominated the comment section. I'm just curious about one thing now. Can Ivy actually design? I used to be a fan of Blake, but now I'm turned off. Has anyone seen the sneak peek photos of Blake yesterday? His looks have declined significantly. I just realized today that he's so tall, but he has a 55 body proportion. I'm not waiting anymore. I've returned the blind box. Subsequently, The word refund actually topped the hot search list. With such a big commotion, Blake and Ivy couldn't withstand the pressure and updated a 9-grid design manuscript on Weibo. This led to even more scolding. The number of blind box clothing refunds had even exceeded 1/3. As someone studying design, I wouldn't even dare to hand in such work to my teacher when rushing to finish my assignments. This? You're telling me this is the new manuscript of the designer of Phoenix piercing the peony? I thought it was some kid's draft paper. Quietly saying, could there really be some hidden truth behind the plagiarism incident? Ivy couldn't bear so many doubts and deleted the Weibo in a hurry. She had no choice but to keep using her health as an excuse. She said she was dizzy and her hands were shaking so much that she could barely hold a pen. And these works were not her normal level. She also promised that she would definitely participate in the second phase of the designers' competition on time, and that this time's work would definitely satisfy everyone. As soon as she made such bold claims on Weibo, she turned around and sent me a distress message. Sister Scarlet, for the sake of our long-term cooperation, please help me with next week's designers competition. How about 1 million? Brother Blake said you're an orphan. This 1 million can help you do a lot of things. Or, how about 2 million? Sister Scarlet, if you don't help me, I'll be cursed to death by netizens. What's being cursed to death? Do you know that in my previous life, I was stabbed to death with a knife? I felt the blood slowly flowing out of my chest bit by bit, my body gradually getting colder. And finally, everything went blank. That feeling was truly unbearable. Ivy's messages kept coming one after another, suppressing the anger from 2 lifetimes. I replied, okay. See you at the airport the night before the competition. Ivy, you asked for this. With the official media and live streaming across the whole network, since you want to make a fool of yourself on such a big occasion, I'll naturally give you a hand. All the designed drafts of the National Style series were in my mind. Replicating them was just a matter of a few strokes. However, after thinking about the unique water stage that my little aunt mentioned for the second phase competition, I made some major changes. It only took me one night to complete the finished product design. After showing it to my little aunt, she exclaimed surprise. I told you that you're suitable for Hollywood. The design of the black and white witch. Honey, you're really a genius. Not wanting to miss this big show. And since there was a Sino-American produced movie having a large-scale casting call, my little aunt simply came back to China with me. Outside the airport, Ivy wrapped herself up tightly and took the designed rafts and the finished product from me. I've also written the design ideas and the main theme on paper. Remember to memorize them. Seeing that I was so considerate, Ivy thanked me with a grateful look. Thank you, Sister Scarlet. The 2 million yuan has been transferred to you without any deduction. The next day, my aunt and I stood in a corner of the backstage, waiting for a big show to unfold. As soon as Ivy's fashion show model appeared, there was a gasp from the audience. My God! It's so shocking. Completely different from the low-key and reserved style of Phoenix piercing peony. It's a kind of direct and flamboyant beauty. I love it so much. The use of such a large area of red is not gaudy at all. Ivy is really amazing. The black mask on the model's face is simply a stroke of genius. On the bullet screen, there was also a chorus of praise. Ivy, with raised corners of the mouth, faced the audience and slowly began to recite the creative concept she had memorized. At the same time, the model started the catwalk show. This is a Chinese-style design in the same series as Phoenix piercing peony, named Illusory Flowers and Moon in the Water. Poems can be understandable or not, and so is life. It's a real scene, and also a mirage. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Just like this Illusory Flowers and Moon in the Water. As she said this, the water on the water stage just splashed onto the model's red dress. In an instant, the red color completely dissipated, leaving only black and white. On the white part, there were countless small characters written densely. Many audience members, excited to see what was written, stood up. Ivy, unaware, smiled even more and continued to recite. Under the refraction of the water mist, the dazzling red will also become ethereal. Only then will the truth appear. When Ivy recited up to this point, The sharp-eyed audience had already seen the words. Sorry, Scarlet. Ivy is a plagiarism dog. Sorry, Scarlet. Ivy is a plagiarism dog. Sorry, Scarlet. Ivy is a plagiarism dog. Some in the audience had already shouted this sentence. Ivy seemed to realize something was wrong and turned around in a panic. When she saw the words appearing on the clothes, she actually knelt down directly. From her angle, she happened to meet my eyes in the backstage. I smiled and gave her a thumbs up. The audience was in chaos. Many people even stood directly on their seats and loudly questioned Ivy. Ivy. So it was you who plagiarized Scarlet and then turned around to blame her. Ivy, get out of the design industry. Ivy, get out of the design industry. The live streaming bullet screen was also flooded with this sentence. Ivy stubbornly quibbled. Impossible. This is my design work. I still have the manuscripts. Someone must have changed my design. I've been framed. But the audience no longer bought it. A series of questions left Ivy with no way to refute. She simply fell to the stage and pretended to faint. Ivy was taken off the stage by the staff. But the scene didn't quiet down because of her departure. Instead, it set off an even greater discussion craze. So it was Ivy who plagiarized at the beginning. How could a plagiarism dog be so shameless? Scarlet is awesome. Scarlet is the only sister I recognize. I'm stunned. Is this the inspiration from The Black and White Witch? In that movie, the female lead's design was plagiarized. This is so coincidental. Surely it is. In the movie, the fire element was used. And Scarlet used water. It's really amazing. After all, it was a live broadcast program. The following contestants still needed to make their normal presentations. The host struggled to maintain order and barely pulled back the rhythm of the competition. However, on the live streaming bullet screen, netizens were still reminiscing about the Stop Ingling water transformation just now. On Weibo, topics such as Scarlet's phoenix-piercing peony, Ivy's plagiarism, backstab, etc. were trending. Scarlet is really capable and super low-key. She has been behind the scenes styling for her brother. If it weren't for Ivy popping up to claim credit this time, she wouldn't have appeared in front of the public. I was suspicious at that time. Blake debuted 3 years ago, and his styling has been very stable. Obviously the work of one person. And Ivy has only been in the company for a year. Phoenix-piercing peony couldn't be her design. After Scarlet left, Blake's private style outfits have become so bad. His fans are still making excuses, saying that their brother is going for a hip-hop style, driving Scarlet away. Their brother has also flopped. I only glanced at them casually and then turned off my phone. The crowd has no intelligence. On the internet, with a layer of anonymity, people speak without scruples. Now, are the people who are praising me, apologizing to me, and being wise after the event really not the same group as those who condemned me with righteous words back then? I don't think so. On the other hand, the mess Ivy did was self-evident. The blind box refund rated Blake's personal clothing brand YY had exceeded 95. This time, the company lost more than 10 million. The film and television company urgently cut ties, saying that they had been deceived by Ivy in the previous plagiarism incident and that the company had been negligent. They sincerely apologized to me and the public regarding the huge losses caused to the company by Ivy. They would take legal action to claim compensation. And it seemed that Blake really had some true feelings for Ivy. When reposting the Weibo, he was still saying that he hoped everyone could give Ivy a chance. At that time, I was caught up in the plagiarism storm. Blake, wadao hello sai, pretending not to know the truth on the surface and speaking up for me, could still be said to be a kind-hearted person who remembered old friendships. But now, with the facts in front of everyone, Ivy not only plagiarized but also slandered the original owner, which had already aroused public anger. Blake speaking up for Ivy only made everyone think that he couldn't distinguish right from wrong and good from evil. Original creators from all walks of life were angry. Blake lost fans crazily. He quickly deleted the Weibo and replaced it with a set of words in support of originality prepared by the public relations team. And then it quieted down a bit. However, I didn't expect that even in such a desperate situation. Blake still didn't forget to cause trouble for me. When I didn't answer his calls, he sent text messages one by one. Scarlet. Was all of this your doing? I never thought you could be so vicious. If you can't let go of me, you can come to me directly. As long as Ivy doesn't know, I'm willing to give you a chance. But you actually want to ruin Ivy. Don't you recognize your own status yet? Scarlet. I know you're back in the country. Come here and apologize to Ivy right away. Overestimating himself. What kind of stupid brain could think that I did all this because I was jealous that Ivy had his love? However, Blake has always been brainless. It was me who built his persona bit by bit. From interview manuscripts to fan interactions. I taught him word by word. Helped him maintain his fans. And even cultivated a group of diehard fans for him. And in the previous life, these diehard fans became the sharp blades that killed me. Now, I feel disgusted even saying a word to Blake. I directly blocked him. On the internet, a bunch of people queued up to apologize to me. But I ignored them all. I just focused on preparing for the casting tomorrow with my aunt. For a less than 5-minute shot, hundreds of celebrities came to audition, including many first-tier well-known actors. I took a look and saw that Blake was among them. The next day, when I was carrying several cups of coffee back to the hotel, I happened to bump into Blake, who was coming to audition. Scarlet. What are you doing here? Blake asked me in a low voice as if he was afraid that others would know our relationship. This isn't a place for you. Leave now. As soon as he finished speaking, he directly pushed me to leave. I was holding things in my hands, and it was inconvenient to fight back, so I directly kicked him hard in the crotch. Blake, I think fulfilled my obsession. Have I ever told you that when you see me? Scarlet. In the future, remember to tuck your tail between your legs and take a detour. Blake crouched down, covering his crotch in embarrassment, hissing in pain, and couldn't say a word. I didn't bother to look at him anymore and turned to leave. When it was Blake's turn to audition, as soon as he stood on the stage and saw me sitting casually among the casting directors, his face turned green. He even ignored the occasion, pointed at me, and asked directly, "Why is she here?" The other casting directors were all confused by his sudden question, and no one answered him for a moment. Blake panicked and immediately asked me again. Scarlet. Why are you here? I sneered and said coldly. Blake, I'm here to decide your fate. I wasn't wrong. Setting up a clothing brand to make money. Getting entangled with the plagiarizing Ivy. And it was said that the paparazzi were still holding intimate photos of the two of them and hadn't released them yet. Blake was in the biggest crisis since entering the industry. Not only did fans leave, but his public image also completely collapsed. He was in urgent need of a good resource to stabilize his fan base. This was what his boss said just now. His boss also said, "I've made all the arrangements. This audition is just a formality. The Water Army and marketing accounts are all ready. Just waiting for the official announcement." My aunt, sitting in the middle, directly told the staff to drive Blake out. A bald middle-aged man next to her hurriedly stopped her. "Colin, Blake hasn't started the audition yet. You've been abroad all year, so you don't understand. Blake has a good image and many fans. He can guarantee the box office." My aunt raised her eyebrows and glanced at me. Presumably this bald man was the one Blake's boss had bribed. My aunt pretended to be interested and asked, "Okay. Since you say I don't understand, let me test you?" The bald man was stunned when he heard this familiar sentence pattern. "Let me test you. How much benefit did you get to speak for this scoundrel?" My aunt was still smiling. But the bald man couldn't force a smile anymore. He left in disgrace with Blake being driven out by the staff. Blake was like an eggplant beaten by frost. Only muttering, "Impossible. What's impossible about it?" I lifted him to a height that didn't belong to him. So it was only a matter of time before he fell from that high place. We endured until evening and finally settled on a not-so-well-known but highly capable actor. When my aunt and I left the audition hall, Blake and his boss were still there. This company was just a small workshop, relying entirely on Blake's popularity. It could be said that they prospered and declined together. The boss had a flattering look on his face and dragged Blake over to apologize. Ms. Carlin. I'm really sorry. I didn't know you were personally involved in the casting. Otherwise, I would definitely have paid you a visit in advance. Oh? Really? Would it be a visit in advance or some under-the-table dealing in advance? After a long day, my aunt didn't feel like talking to them and pulled me to leave. The boss of Blake had finally managed to corner us and was reluctant to give up so easily. Ms. Carlin, may I ask, what's your relationship with Scarlet? If it's because of the misunderstanding between us and Scarlet, it can all be easily resolved. Easily resolved. I immediately leaned on my aunt's arm. Honey, I looked at them and said, can't you tell? If Blake is willing, I can introduce him to a powerful big brother too. I didn't expect that these two fools, Blake and his boss, actually believed such words. That night, negative hot search topics about me went viral. Marketing accounts and paid trolls all jumped in, saying that I harbored hatred towards Blake because of the plagiarism incident, had an ambiguous relationship with the casting director Carlin, and deliberately ruined the resources that Blake was about to get. My aunt directly posted a photo of us when I was a child, with the caption, "People with a dirty heart see everything as dirty." Also, having fulfilled my obsession, Blake doesn't fit the role in any way. I rushed to comment as well, my blood-related dear aunt. Blake was completely finished this time. His lack of ability, spreading rumors about others, and trying to steal resources. The backlash of popularity was more than he could bear. Losing fans and being betrayed by fans were just the mild consequences. The two top-tier ready-to-wear endorsements he got because of Phoenix piercing the peony directly sent him a lawyer's letter, demanding to terminate the contract and compensate for the losses. Blake's boss also sued both Blake and Ivy in court, asking them to compensate for all the company's losses. The total amount of various fees mentioned in the lawyer's letter exceeded 9 digits. The contract Blake signed at that time was the lowest grade one. Although he had indeed earned a lot of money in recent years, not much of it actually reached his hands. These losses were beyond what he could afford. He grabbed Ivy's hair and ran in front of me, crying and apologizing to me. Scarlet, we've had feelings for so many years. Have you forgotten? It's all Ivy's fault. Scarlet, can you forgive me just this once? Ivy's scalp was bleeding from being pulled, and she stared at Blake with a look of extreme hatred. It was really interesting to watch them fight among themselves. I looked at Blake and said, "You look like a dog right now." I waved my hand and asked the security guards to drag the two of them away. That night, Blake died. Ivy killed him with her own hands. I wasn't surprised. During the day, I clearly saw the hatred in Ivy's eyes. However, either the recent blows were too much or she was stimulated after killing someone. Ivy went crazy. She thus escaped legal sanctions. But still, a month later, she was stabbed to death by an extreme anti-fan of Blake in a mental hospital. Everything returned to calm when netizens were starting topics online, saying they missed me. I was arguing with an American stylist in Hollywood. She insisted on making the eyes of our Chinese actors look like slits. I rolled up my sleeves and got into a fight with her. After winning, I casually posted a "WIBO, don't miss me. I'm not dead. I spent 2 years struggling in Hollywood, got into countless fights, and created the most suitable looks for every Chinese actor who came to make it big in the US. Finally, having fulfilled my desire. 2 years later, when I stood on the Oscars podium, I fulfilled the promise I made back then, meet you all on a bigger stage. After that, I returned to China with a brand new look and founded my own national style brand. After these years of accumulation and the collision with Western culture, my designs broke free from the previous fixed frameworks, with some novel and unconventional ideas added. The recently concluded spring-summer fashion show received unanimous praise from both inside and outside the industry. Standing in front of the T stage, giving a thank you speech, my heart was filled with excitement. Thoughts can't be extinguished, and talent can't be killed. I wish all designers to always be true to themselves and to originality. Under the stage, the applause thundered and lasted for a long time. I saw my aunt smiling with relief, holding her phone and taking pictures of me non-stop. I thought, Finally, having fulfilled my sigh, I've taken back everything that belongs to me. All of it. Righteously.